Hi everyone, my name's James Ivey from the Studio Rats and welcome to another episode of TSR Jivey Talks Tech. This time plugins, and in particular two plugins that always find their way onto my master or two bus. I'm working on a mix for a friend, backing track for a friend. It sounds like this. Now, one of the biggest problems I find, especially when mixing for what will be a live track, is making sure that the mix or the track fits and works on a whole range of systems, from earbuds to big PA to all sorts of things. So there are two plugins in particular that I reach for time and time again. And the first one is this one by iZotope called Tonal Balance Control. And this is Tonal Balance Control II, I think. What the clever folks at iZotope did was went away and applied some of their clever machine learning and artificial intelligence stuff and analysed over 10,000 commercially released tracks from different styles of music, be that heavy bass, country, EDM, folk, hip-hop, jazz, modern, not sure what that is, orchestral, pop, reggae, R&B, soul, and rock. And they kind of looked at the EQ curves of those tracks. And what this allows you to do is basically make sure you're mapping your EQ to a kind of a commercial norm, if you like. It's not a get out of jail free card, but it certainly is a really good test to see how you're doing when compared to other commercially released music. I'm going to turn my volume down a bit so I can talk over it and let you see what's going on. So I'm going to play the track back and you'll see what happens. We have 4 band ranges: low, low mid, high mid and high, and you can see it's kind of chunked out into these blocks. If I play back, so I'm doing okay in the kind of high mid, maybe a little bit bright, low mid's a little low, and the lows are a little high. Now that's okay because I can now go into my bass track if I want. Let's move this out of the way. Maybe it's the kick drum. It's pushing the lows a little bit. Let's bring out some more keyboards and synth up to fill that middle gap in. Now what we can then do is go over into fine and really start to fine adjust what's going on with our track. So I'm currently sonically mixing using the instrumental parts. So if I need more bottom end, I'll boost the low instruments. And if I want more top end, I'll boost the high instruments. But what you can also do is if you have an iZotope EQ, something like Ozone with its EQ section in your master channel as well, and I go to Tonal Balance Control, I can select the EQ from Ozone, and I can start to mess with the EQ on my master bus in Tonal Balance Control. So let's play back and then I'll try and tweak the mix a little bit so I get pretty much a match to that EQ curve. So I'm pretty happy with what I'm seeing on Tonal Balance Control. Now, of course, I know you should never mix with your eyes, but this is a really useful kind of final check in your mix, just to make sure you're not overdoing anything. Maybe the room you're working in is far from perfect. Maybe you just want that kind of safety net to say, yep, you're fine, you're within a reasonable tolerance. It's not going to save you if you've done something silly in a particular part of the mix, but what this is going to do is be a final kind of safety net, final control before you put your mix out to the greater world to be destroyed by people on the internet. Speaking of the internet, a lot of the work I do ends up online, and we all know about the loudness wars and all that sort of stuff, and it's very dull and boring. However, we do need to meet certain loudness standards, and having a loudness meter is really useful. But having a loudness meter with a limiter in is even more useful. So the other plugin that finds its way onto my master bus every mix is this one. This is the Pro Limiter from Avid, the Avid Pro Limiter. It works both native and HDX, so don't think this is an HDX only thing. But it's brilliant. Not only is it one of the most transparent limiters I've ever heard, meaning it puts no sonic character on, if you want, you can absolutely pummel it and not hear that horrible limiting kind of nasty, over-compressed, over-limited noise. It's a really useful thing. But it also has loudness meters in LUFS, loudness units full scale, and it also allows me to control and set a ceiling. Now, what I tend to do for all my mixes is set my ceiling at -1 dB. By doing this, any intersample peaks, and there are such things, so for extra credit, go away and do some reading on those, will be under your absolute zero level, hence no horrible nasty clicks or pops. Now, of course, it being a limiter, we can use the threshold control to gently push down if we need to. So let's see how we're doing. I want to aim for an integrated loudness of around between -16, -14. There is an argument out there about maintaining dynamic range. I tend to go -16 just because that's what I've been taught. But I believe most of the streaming platforms now use -14 LUFS as their loudness limit. So let's see what I'm going to get from this. Let's bring the threshold down a little bit. Now, what I can choose to do, I can see there's a little bit of limiting, sort of 2 dB going on there. What I could do is put the limiter the other side of tonal balance control so I can see what effect that limiter pushing down the bottom end is having on my overall EQ curve. So by having tonal balance control after the Pro Limiter, I'm able to see that that little bit of limiting, which is occurring when the kick drum kicks in, is just pushing my EQ curve down into more of a normal range. It's not, this is how to mix your tracks, this is what will get you a commercially balanced mix. That's not what this is trying to do. What it is trying to do is give you a ballpark of where to get your mix to be in the range of other commercially available tracks. So there you go, Tonal Balance Control version 2 and the Avid Pro Limiter, 2 plugins that always find their way onto my master bus for every single mix I do. So I really hope you found that useful. If you did, please like, subscribe, hit the bell, all the normal stuff. But for now, my name's James Ivey from the Studio Rats, and we'll see you again very soon for some more TSR Jivey Talks Tech.